Hello. Today I want to talk about something a little more upbeat than my last video, and it's about how my minimum wage job is the only job I want. Now, I've been thinking about this again for several years, and over the past couple of years it's really been at the forefront of my mind. And basically the dilemma is, do I stay in a job that I enjoy for low pay? Do I try and move on to a higher paying job that I know I won't enjoy as much and potentially I could very much dislike or even hate? And I think this can relate to a lot of people. I think a lot of people have the same worry. It's, trying to find a job that they enjoy, or trying to find a job that pays well. And most people, it's either one or the other, if you're lucky to get either, to be honest. And for me, as I have landed on a job that I enjoy, I'm kind of accepting that this is what I'm going to stay at. Now, my job isn't a normal minimum wage job. It is very unique, and what it entails is I plant trees and shrubs on private land to increase the levels of biodiversity, to restore nature in small areas across a national park. It's funded by a private company, and it's going to last for, I think, 90 more years of funding, unless the company goes bust. So I've got like really good job security. I could have this till I retire, and it really aligns with my goals, my life goals. My life goal is to buy a small bit of land myself, which I can plant trees and shrubs, have ponds, and just increase the levels of biodiversity, and also use part of it for like small holdings, a little bit of growing my own food and having a kind of help self-sustaining, really. So now, obviously, the idea of having more money is attractive to me, but I do live with depression, and I know that I have big periods of time, whether it's a few weeks to a few months, where I'm so low I can barely concentrate on anything other than the negative thoughts that are going around in my head. So when I have a job, or if I have a job that pays more, obviously I'm going to have much more responsibility and much more stress. And the only thing I can guarantee is that there will be times when I don't do the job properly, because I'll be too distracted. I'll be too busy thinking about other things. And I can get away with it in this job. It's a low skill. It's planting trees, it's maintaining trees, a bit of spraying, a bit of hand weeding, slashing bracken. There's not much to it. I can do it with half a brain. But I wouldn't be able to do a higher paying job with half a brain. I would need to concentrate. Now, fortunately, I'm not a consumer. I've never really been one to spend lots of money anyway. But when I was younger, I did like buying some nice things. I'd have a bit of a fancier car. I would buy clothes, and I would go out a bit more, but I've never been extravagant. But now I really do live a modest lifestyle, and that's okay. Like, I don't need much. I've got my house now. Obviously, I have a mortgage, so as long as I have enough money for a mortgage and to fund my car and to maybe save a little bit each month, that's all I need. I do have a life goal, obviously, like I said, of buying my own land. But if I don't achieve that, I'm coming to the stage of accepting that as well, because the job that I do is essentially what I wanted to do anyway. Yes, I can't enjoy the land myself. I can't go there, when no one be around me, but I get to see great positive changes happening all across the national park. As a job, I get paid for that. So if I was to get a higher paying job, I wouldn't see these changes. Especially even if it is nature based, a lot of the time is still spent in an office, and that would get me down. So yeah, the idea of having not getting my own land, I can bear, because the job that I do essentially fills that void anyway. Now, I left school when I was 15, nearly 16, and I failed my college exams. I didn't go to university. It's in the UK, the bit before uni is called college, and so I don't have much to my name, and because of that, if I wanted a higher paying job, I would need to go back to studying. I'd need to spend a lot of time over, a couple to a few to maybe several years of studying, and I would also need to pay for this studying. For a job that, in this kind of sector, in nature, that won't pay that much more. It will pay more, but for people who work in nature, they're kind of they're handicapped in a way, because obviously it's a job that loads of people want to do. They can pay you less because people will take the pay cut because it's a job that people enjoy. So for a much more stressful job, stress that I would bring home, and I'd have much more responsibility, I wouldn't get that much more money. And spending all that time, money and effort trying to get the qualifications to so I can get this job, it just doesn't seem worth it. On top of that, especially living in the UK, you have high taxes, and the idea of paying more tax to a government that hates me, that would spend the money on things that would not benefit me, on people that aren't me. It's like, why would I do this to myself? Why would I take on higher stress, more responsibility for a very little reward, and also paying the government more money? It doesn't seem logical to me. But what does seem logical to me is staying in a job that is low stress, which will give me higher energy levels to invest that time and energy into something that could benefit me directly. And that is doing this YouTube channel. It might not take off, it is a risk, but I think it's a risk worth taking. If I'm going to spend time and effort doing something, I may as well do something that could directly benefit me. And even if it doesn't financially benefit me, it does emotionally. Like, it's a distraction. again, I'm trying to stop smoking weed and trying to focus on more positive things rather than the negative things that are happening all around me. So, like I said, it's a win-win all around. Now, I do understand that a minimum wage job isn't for everyone. Some people have children and have families that they need to fund. And some people want lifestyles that they want to fund. When it comes down to the lifestyles, I do have this to say. When people have more money, obviously, or when people consume things, the excitement tends to be into the saving of getting this thing, whatever item it may be, a new car or clothes or electronics or whatever. Now, between a few days and a few months, that novelty of this new item does wear off, and you just get used to it. It means almost nothing to you. It actually becomes more of a liability because you're more concerned of it not breaking, not getting damaged, especially if it's, your car or something like that. So you're working harder to buy something that gives you elevated stress levels, and you do get used to it anyway, eventually. So my logic behind that is, if you get used to a higher level of luxury, you would also get used to a lower level of luxury. Like, you flip it the other way. If you're not buying things, you do get used to not having things. But what comes with that is you're not stressed about your things breaking or getting stolen or anything like that. I have an old car. It's reliable, but it's old, and if it gets scratched or damaged, I just don't care. As long as it runs, as long as it starts every time I turn the key, which it does, because I do the maintenance on it, that's fine. Same with my house. Everything's functional. I clean it, and so what? You don't need it. With a family, it's different. You're obviously thinking about your children. They need feeding, they need clothing, and they do need entertaining, and I understand that point of view. But again, you can still live a modest life even with a family. You don't have to break your spirit, you don't have to break your body just so you can buy stuff that you don't need. And yeah, that is basically my point in this video. It is a dilemma choosing between a job that pays more or a job that you enjoy. If you manage to find a job that pays more and you enjoy, you have won the lottery. Like, you hold on to that job as much as you can. But if you have to choose between one or the other, just think, is a slightly newer car worth more than your mental health? Because in today's society, it's unlikely that you're going to become anything other than, slightly upper middle class, and even the middle class is dying. So you're still living kind of the same lifestyle. You're just sitting in a slightly nicer car in traffic compared to other people. And if it's at the cost of, like I say, your spirit, I don't know, I'd think about that one. And I'd weigh it up. And yeah, that's just my food for thought. Obviously, everyone's different. Some people do value money more than anything else. And if you do, that does bring you happiness. So a higher paid job is your happiness. But yeah, that's all I have for today. Like I said, it's a bit more upbeat than my last video. But yeah, that's been my expression of depression. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.